just so that you know who Sunil is. He's one of the most important people in the country at the intersection of technology and startups. He's held senior positions with Symbian, with Nokia, and at Google. And in fact, when he was at Google, he was actually the head for Google's next billion online program. So he is pretty much the most relevant person on this topic that we could get. And we're very grateful that Sunil could sort of take time out and come here to be with us today to give us his thoughts. Currently, he is a partner at Lightspeed Ventures, which is one of the best sort of venture capital firms in the country. Lightspeed Ventures are the ones who've backed some of the popular names that everybody will know probably in the room is Oyo Rooms, Byju's, there's a Fresh Menu as well, and there's many, many more in their portfolio. And it's very important for him to be here today is because he's really going to sort of break it down in the very basics and fundamentals so that everyone knows what we're talking about, and as subsequent speakers come about, you'll be able to sort of really get on tune with some of the basics that Sunil has set for us today. So thank you, Sunil, for being here.
Excited, super excited to be here. This is my third visit to Thiruvananthapuram, and every time I'm in love with this place. It's a beautiful city, and keep the city clean and beautiful forever.
Awesome. Thank you, Sunil. Just paint a picture as what is happening currently. What is this noise about? Who is this next billion? Where are they? And why is this even a topic worth discussing in the first place?
Okay, cool. So let me just go down the history a bit now. It took close to around 22 years to get the first 2 billion people online, right? And any idea as to how much amount of time it took to add the next billion after that? From 2 to 3 billion? It was 1/4. It was less than 5 years. And you added another billion users at the rate at which we are growing currently, right? I'm talking about the global landscape. We'll be adding close to 1.6 billion people online. And by 2021, there'll be 5.4 billion people will be coming online out of a global population of 7.5 billion people. So that's the scale at which we are talking about, guys. And if you're talking about where are these guys coming from, these are coming from emerging markets like India, Indonesia, from Brazil, from Nigeria, from most of the African continent. And coming back to India alone, if you're looking at India, it's a population of around 1.3 billion people. And looking at what kind of numbers you want to trust and believe in the source, we've got 350 to 400 million people who are currently online. And at the going rate, thanks to Jio, by which we are able to get smartphones at a cheaper rate, the data prices have fallen considerably. We'll be having close to 650 million people who will be getting online by the year 2020 in India alone. And the good point is, again, out here, 50% of these users will be coming from rural India. And what I'm really excited apart from that is another 40% of them would be women who will be getting online, right? And by 2022 or 24, it'll be 50% of them would be women and 50% would be men. So you're just talking about democratization of this entire internet. So that's the story about this next billion users in short.
Even today, so much money is going to YouTube, so much money, I mean, YouTube English-based content and Netflix and so on and so forth, because there's a lot of production houses and studios who are still focusing on content in a sense, in an English format. So do you see opportunities there? Is that the next big opportunity, is local language content?
That's going to be huge. If you're looking at it, there are multiple channels on YouTube. If you're looking at just the Telugu content, there is a Telugu movie film content channel, which is getting something like around 1.6 billion views every single month, right? And they just started around 3 months back. So there's a huge surge for people to start getting localized content and produce local content.
That's crazy, because those are hundreds of millions of the billions of sort of views. So then what should corporates and developers then in that case, because seeing that this is sort of a market that is willing to consume, but nobody sort of built products and services for them yet. So then therefore what should the corporates and developers do in terms of actually capturing this market then?
I think the way you should approach this user is completely different, right? Starting from your user experience itself. These are not the guys who are going to type anymore. Everything is going to be voice, everything is going to be videos. So if you're not talking to them in an input in the way that they really understand and making it easy for them, they're never going to be interacting with you. So that's the fundamental difference that you need to look at. Secondly, even though we are talking about in a country where everywhere there is 4G, The reality is I've traveled length and breadth of the country, and most of the time it's 2.5G networks or no G at all, right? It keeps roaming, and there's a circle thing that you keep seeing forever. And these are people where you should always keep in mind to develop an app or a service where you should be able to make it work really offline and on very low bandwidth, right? So these are the two things which are really important. And lastly, when you're looking at the interfaces, don't use the same design methodology that you would have used in the past while designing for a PC or your traditional mobile in the past. So the entire user interface has really changed. So keep that in mind when you're looking at the next billion users.
Okay, so then by that logic, tell me one thing then. You know, Oyo has been built and Flipkart has been built and a bunch of Indian startups, that wave has already been built. So would you still say it's still relevant? There's still opportunities today to be a tech entrepreneur?
I think this is the best time.
Even now?
Even now, I'll tell you, even today, we are talking about a land of billion people, and trust me, there are billion problems. Okay? With billion people, you have billion problems, and you can go and solve those billion problems all the time. Right? And it could be in healthcare. There is inefficiency everywhere. It could be in healthcare, it could be in education, it could be in road, transport, water, sanitation. Everywhere there's chaos, and that's the huge opportunity for you to go ahead and solve it.
Oh, that's meant. Okay, so then people in the audience, what would you tell them? Any sort of advice and tips then in that case? What should they sort of do next? And some of them are even from corporates. So are you recommending they submit resignations on Monday? Or what do you okay, so they could be entrepreneurs as well inside those companies.
I think that's one great thing that I learned within Google. There was a concept of this 20% project. If you're really passionate about some cause, you always take up this 20% project and you work your 5th day. It could be on a Friday that you dedicated completely for working on this. So if you're looking at the kind of entrepreneurs that you have in a country like India, almost around 85% of the founders come with a tech background. Right? And there's nothing wrong or right in it. But in the West, when you are seeing, it's a combination of guys who are coming with a tech background, guys who are coming with a business sense. And at the end of the day, you have to be profitable. And it's not like you're just passionate about it. It's just not about you liking what you're trying to develop. It's about another 100 more people or 1 million more people willing to buy and pay for that kind of a product. Right? So keep in mind that you're not just developing for yourself. It's for others who are willing to pay from day one. Okay, and the second most important thing is when you're looking at choosing your co-founders, we have seen a lot of issues that everything is going well in the first couple of years, and then something breaks loose, but within around 18 months, there is a co-founder issue. And a lot of people just shut their company just because of that. So keep in mind, invest all your time and energy to do your market survey really well. Use technology as an enabler. Don't lead by technology. Let there be a business proposition and look at technology by which you are able to solve it eventually. So that's the piece of advice which I would really like to give.
Thank you. Thank you, Sunil. For now, I think that's the best you could help us with.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, guys.